Hello, hi there.
Hello.
There's Tom. Sorry you had that problem with the YouTube yesterday.
Yeah, but I had to watch that. I didn't carefully do what you were telling the people not to do.
Oh, that's good. I think there was a problem on the sound on the YouTube. Sorry, and there's a little bit of a problem now on the sound, so hopefully you can all hear me okay there, because the microphone just fell off. Right, let's click that on. That's working. Good. If I could ask you all just to pop yourselves on mute. There is going to be very much discussion, hopefully. So obviously when you want to chat, if you can either pop your hands up or I can unmute you or you can unmute yourself. Let's see how we're getting on. Just give it another couple of minutes and then we'll crack on. Everybody good? So we've got Anne, we've got Alex, we've got Gillian, we've got iPad 3, whoever they are. Who's iPad 3? Let's see if I can see iPad 3. I can't.
My name's Sarah, but...
Sarah. Oh, Sarah, you asked me a question, which is great, didn't you? So you're new to running, aren't you?
Yeah, literally in the last 3 weeks.
Brilliant.
For various reasons, ended up running, and now I've booked myself in for a half marathon next year, and I've only been running about 2 weeks, so...
Don't panic. The first thing is don't panic. Take it easy, take it gradually. Hopefully today, I mean, you're going to get a very, very brief introduction, and today also is not just going to be focused on ChiRunning, but obviously we'll chat a little bit about ChiRunning as well, but it'll be hopefully a good introduction for you.
Thank you.
We've also got in the group, so we've got a few coaches in here, which is good. Paul is here, Tracy is here. We just had a session with Tracy. So any of the coaches, tune in, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions as we go through. Give it another second or so, and then we'll crack on. So let's make sure you're all on mute. Good. If I can just put you on mute, Anne. Right, so welcome to our session. Really nice to see a couple of new faces here, but I think most of you we've been working together over quite a long time. The idea of this Lunch and Learn is not so much as a class or a workshop, it is more just a chat and a discussion. So a lot of you will have worked on the 20-day Chi Challenge. So I would suggest actually, Sally, you do that 20-day Chi Challenge and look through that, because there's a lot of information in there that you'll get in terms of ChiRunning, and I'll give you links to that at the end of the session. But what I wanted to explore today is just, because we talk about ChiRunning, we talk about Chi, but actually what are some of the simple things we can focus on to help with our exercise practice or our movement practice, and also just our breath work. So I'm teaching predominantly ChiRunning and Oxygen Advantage, so predominantly breath work and predominantly movement work. And the approach, how we can use Chi, that isn't just something that is magical and mysterious, to actually back up how we can improve our movement, how we can improve our breath, and how we can improve our life. Now, as I said, I want this to be very much discussion, so please do chip in. You can either take yourself off mute and just join in with the conversation, or let me just move that mic so I can see the chat. If you want to jump in on the chat, do ask your questions on chat. I've got a couple of slides just to share with you, but the idea is I'm going to share these slides with you to actually promote discussion, to get some ideas and everything from you. And at the same time, I know a lot of you have been to the classes on a Thursday morning and I've practiced the ChiRunning, but at the end of the session, we just do a little warm-up, get the Chi flowing, which is quite nice, get the energy flowing. Any questions before I share a few slides with you? Or you're all sat there with your lunch and ready to go, raring to go. Okay, so hopefully you can see this screen now. Fundamentals of Chi. What is Chi all about? Simply, let's keep it simple. Anybody who knows me knows I like things simple. The idea of Chi just means energy or life force. And that's not just energy internally, it's also energy externally. Now, if that sounds a little bit Zen, again, think logically. Our body is made up of cells, and those cells need energy. So the first way of getting energy into our body is breathing. So taking that breath into the body, that is going to energize and create vitality in the cells, and that obviously promotes life. So energy of life. Now, what is fascinating also, we focus on thinking about energy around us, and there is electromagnetic energy that runs throughout the universe. And again, that can sound a little bit Zen, but I was doing a little bit of reading up on this, and I'll show you a study in a minute, which is fascinating. Let's just let the other Sarah join in. Which is fascinating. Hi, Sarah. Which is fascinating about how electromagnetism within the Earth's atmosphere actually affects heart rate and actually can have an effect on our autonomic nervous system. And it's fascinating. It's like, why haven't I read this one before? Qigong, so ChiRunning, Tai Chi, all comes from the Eastern practice of Qigong. And Qigong literally just means working with energy, or energy cultivation, or energy creation, and working with energy. So anything where we're practicing gathering energy, creating energy within the body. And you only have to do, when we do one of our little movement practices, we only have to do like a shaking movement, and you can feel the energy, whether it's blood flow or whatever's going on, you've warmed up the muscle. It's just that sense of energy flowing through the body. So again, it's nothing magical or mysterious. It just means energy or life force. This is that study which I thought was fascinating. It was showing that our ANS, the ANS is the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system is what allows all the automatic functions of the body to go on. So we don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about heartbeat. We don't have to think about digestion. So the autonomic nervous system is what helps our body to function. And this study showed that these geomagnetic and solar activity could actually affect our autonomic nervous system through, they were measuring something called heart rate variability. So heart rate variability, without getting too technical and too complex, is the difference in heartbeats. So when you take a breath in, your heart rate increases, and every breath you take out, the heart rate decreases. Now, what is seen in general as good heart rate variability is that difference between increase and decrease. So although we might see our heart, you might get your heart rate monitor and it'll show your heart is beating 60 beats per minute. Actually, that's not like a metronome. So you don't want those heartbeats exactly the same at exactly the same beat. So a greater variation is good heart rate variability. And this study was showing that actually solar activity is affecting our heart rate. And I thought that was fascinating. So it was just saying there was an increase in solar wind activity, and that correlated with a heart rate raising. So therefore that's affecting you physically, by the physics of the body. So that's fascinating. So when we're talking about energy around us affecting us, that study there is just highlighting that energy around us is affecting us. So it's not all Zen as it seems. And that's, I think any of you know the way I teach, it's like I like a very practical approach to teaching. I like to understand why we're doing something rather than just accepting this is the way things are. So I thought that was fascinating. If we're looking at the fundamentals, so what are the basic fundamentals of Qi, whether that's practicing Qigong, practicing ChiRunning. The basic fundamentals of energy, what creates energy, is posture and breath. That's what is great about keeping this so simple. We're looking at maintaining a good posture. Now, again, those of you who come to the workshops or come to the classes will know that good posture doesn't mean necessarily a fixed posture. Hannah's just joined the group, and Hannah teaches restorative exercise, and Katie Bowman has an excellent quote which says that it's often, if we're trying to create a fixed posture, if we're determined to create this fixed posture, that is what can often be undermining to our health. And a classic example of that is the whole idea of, right, a standing posture, and I'm going to pull my tummy in, I'm going to engage the core, so this is good posture. Actually, that's not necessarily great posture, because you're creating restriction, you're creating blockages. You could be sitting at a desk and thinking, oh, I need to have really good posture sitting at my desk so you're upright and taut and strong, and yeah, this looks really great. But actually that fixed posture, again, is not great for the chi to flow or the energy to flow around the body. So posture is not just about locking and creating a fixed posture. It's all about movement even if you're in a standing pose or a standing position, there's still a flow of energy, there's still movement around the body. So it's maintaining good posture. Regulation of breath. So again, regulation of breath is being in control of the breath, or moving with the breath, guiding with the breath, rather than the breath getting out of control. Again, another really good quote that I use with all my workshops, whether it's movement workshop or breathwork workshop, is that if breathing is not normalized, no other movement pattern can be. So if we're not breathing efficiently and in a good way, then that is going to affect how we move. We're not going to be moving as optimally. So it's then connecting that movement with breath, combining movement with breath, so coordinating movement with breath. And then the final point is moving with intention. And again, if you've been to the workshops with me, it's really understanding that there's a difference between moving and, let's say, for example, running, and you say, right, I'm going to go out to run to get fit, and I need to do this run. So I'm just going out to run to get fit, or I'm going out to run to lose weight. But what is the intention behind that movement? How are you moving? How are you moving your energy? So you might have a different idea of what that run is all about. But if you're really clever in your training program, when you're designing a training program, you want to understand why you are running. So what's the purpose of this run? What is my intention of this run? If your intention of this run is to go out and do a long, slow distance run, then you need to understand how to go about doing that long, slow distance run. So it's not just the goal, you're not just looking at that end goal, you have an intention of purpose and progress to get to that end goal. So those are the things that, if you just think of the basic fundamentals of what Chi is all about, that can really make a difference to anything. It can make a difference to whatever exercise you're doing or whatever you're doing in life. If you maintain good balance, good posture within the body, if your breathing is regulated, if you're coordinating that movement in breath. So both of them you need to be in control of. If you're out of control of your movement, you're going to be out of control of the breath. And then just having an intention, having a purpose of what you are doing, moving with energy. Let's have a look. This is something that, again, with runners we often focus on is what is flow? What does flow mean? If you just look there at the river, this is a really good example of a really strong, powerful movement, but without blockage, without restriction. So if there's a blockage in that stream, then it's going to become stagnated. If there's fluid movement, if there's flow through that stream, if there's flow through nature, then the movement will flow, but it can still be powerful and strong. So, and it's the same within the body. So if our body is if you can move with flow, you can allow that energy, you can allow that movement through the body without restriction. So say if you're tight in the ankle or you're tight in the knee, that's blocking energy, it's blocking flow. So that will affect how you breathe, it will affect how you move. So we want to create this fluid, graceful, flowing energy through the body, whatever movement you're doing. So if you're running, you know, if you watch a runner who's tight in the hips or is a little bit restricted, there's blockages at certain parts of the body. And what we tend to get from a running point of view is that we're focusing on the end goal. We're focusing, I need to get faster, I need to push through it, I need to really get faster and push through that pain, if you like. But actually that's really not great in terms of the stresses and strains that it's putting on your body. So you want to feel that flowing energy, and that flowing energy is almost like an effortless energy. But again, if you watch the stream, it doesn't mean to say it's not powerful. We tend to get this idea of ChiRunning or Chi is all about taking it easy. It can still be very strong and powerful, but it's a flow of movement. And again, if you think about any of the practices in terms of movement practice, if you've been to my workshops, we'll focus on slow, controlled movement. Because slow, controlled movement, you will find the points, the sticking points where, that's where I maybe stick, that's where I maybe haven't got the strength or the muscular balance and coordination to actually move through that movement. So a slow, controlled, fluid movement translates when you start to move the quicker, you have that brain-body connection that helps you to actually create that movement with a little bit of momentum. And that whole idea of flow, when you sort of like get in the zone and sort of like the state of flow, should give that feeling of effortless. It's almost like effortless to be able to move, to be able to run like this. Now, I often get a lot of people saying about, effortless is like, how can it be effortless? It's actually really hard work. It's actually the practice that you put in to then create that sense of flow and sense of effortlessness. So if it's hard work when you're going out on your run, it just means you either need to slow down a little bit, you need to find that state of flow, whatever stage you are at this minute, however your body is at the minute, however your breathing is at the minute. So it's the practice that'll actually bring that effortless movement to your running, to whatever exercise you're doing. They would usually say it's about 10,000 hours of this practice that will help you to master a discipline. So it's all well and good saying, I want to feel effortless when I'm running. If you don't put the practice in to achieve that sense of effortlessness, it's never going to feel effortless. So if you imagine like practicing to play a musical instrument, you're going through the scales, there's specific drills, there's specific exercises, and then when you actually go to play the concert, it's all second nature. It becomes second nature. It's not something that you have to think about. And this is the same with your training, is you need to put the practice in to actually allow the run then just to become effortless. And this is one of the things, again, about ChiRunning, is that we have to look at where you can put the practice in, because it's all well and good saying you need to put the practice in, but this is the art of you developing your own training program. I was talking to Tracy just before this workshop, and Tracy's a breath coach, and she was saying, I say to my clients, you have to develop your own breath plan. And I thought that was really nice. It's like, yes, as coaches, we're delivering the tools for you to be able to achieve your practice, but at the same time, it needs to fit in with what you are doing. So we can't get so much practice in that our brain just gets so full of things. So you want to really work out how you can develop your practice and your exercises and your drills to allow that effortless flow feel when you're doing your exercise. And this is one of the great things, again, about the oxygen advantage and the ChiRunning, is The practice is stuff you can do in everyday life. I'm standing here now, I can really just check in with how I'm standing, I can check in with how I'm breathing. You can check in with how you're standing at a supermarket. Can you stand and balance on one leg when you're cleaning your teeth? All of these little tricks, tips and tricks that will help become part of your practice, become part of your training program. So then you're creating a skill without conscious consideration when you're actually performing, if you like, or when you're running or when you're in a race. Because when you're running, you don't want to be overthinking, am I swinging my arms, am I lifting my heels, am I breathing efficiently? You just want some of those simple visualizations, like I want to feel tall, I want to have that nice, light, quick cadence. This was one of the questions that was asked about cadence. How can I get that sense of quick cadence? If you're overthinking what cadence is all about, it can actually become quite complicated. But if you just think, right, I just need short, quick, light steps, nice and light and quick, then that can help improve your cadence. So that's when your skill becomes automatic without you having to overthink it. So it becomes second nature. And what again is interesting with all of the studies that have been done is when you get that sense of flow, it means that your heart rate can lower because you'll be more energy efficient, because that's exactly what we're looking for. You want to be as energy efficient as possible. And then the breath will become more subtle. It will become lighter. You won't have to do as much hard work breathing. So that the whole idea of nasal breathing when you're running, and I know everybody asks me this question, it'll start off nasal breathing. I can't run and nasal breathe. It just means you need to just slow down the pace, keep that light, quick cadence. But once you get into that zone, then the breathing will become more subtle. This was an interesting study again that showed that is particularly about young people, but we talk a lot about enjoyment of practice. And again, it can all sound a bit zen and a bit sort of like, oh, this is easy. How can I enjoy my running? It should be all hard work and all about pushing and everything. But actually, this study showed that if you enjoyed the pursuit of the subject that they were doing, so that was not necessarily sport, it could be maths. If they didn't enjoy it, then they stopped developing their skills and reverted to mediocrity. I like that. But again, if you don't enjoy something, you're not going to get out and do it. You're not going to get the full benefits from it. If running is a chore, if your intention of movement is to go out because I have to go out, because I've got to do this run to keep fit, blah, 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 you're going out with a mindset that isn't going to help you as much as if you went out with a mindset as I'm really enjoying this. I know the full intention of this run. This run is to do a short 20-minute run where I'll do a little bit of interval. I'll have my breath in control. I'll do a little bit of nasal breathing. So there's a real structure behind what you're doing. So enjoy your running is not a cop-out. It's not an easy thing. It's not just say, oh, just go out and enjoy it. You're actually going to get the benefits from that enjoyment. Another thing to focus on, and then I know I've talked a little bit and we'll open it up for questions because there's plenty of questions, is focused attention. Now, I quite like this. In ChiRunning, you can focus on an external force. So rather than just bring all of the focus into the body, which is great to tune into your body, notice what's going on in the body, actually when you have space around you, so you have all of that energy around you, it's quite nice to focus your attention on an external force or an external element rather than just all internally. So in ChiRunning, it's called I-Chi. So you create a connection. So what you could focus on when you are, say if you're running a race, is you could focus on the runner in front of you. And rather than you trying to push yourself to get towards that runner, so trying and pushing and forcing, you can allow yourself to be drawn towards that runner. So you have a specific attention to focus on, a specific external focus to concentrate on, and then you can move your energy with intention towards that focus. And that's a great way running. You spot a tree in the distance, you connect to that tree, and you feel yourself being drawn to that tree rather than, I need to get to that tree, I need to push myself forwards. So that takes the focus out of the body. it takes the focus out of thinking about what am I trying to do, and it allows you just to be as you are at the minute, to be in that present moment, and then just focus on the outcome. So my outcome is to be drawn towards that external focus. So that's, again, these little visualizations can make a big difference to how you run and how you enjoy your run. If every time you're out on a run just thinking, I need to swing my arms, I need to nasal breathe, I need to have short, quick steps, it just gets too complicated. If you've done all your practice, your 10,000 hours of practice, all of those things are just happening. They've all become second nature. Then you can just focus on your little form focuses as you're moving, as you're running. Rhythm is also really key to going with the flow, to help you with that external focus, and to help you create that sense of rhythm and sense of movement, bringing the breath and the posture, the rhythm back to each other together. So I've talked enough now, saying I wasn't going to talk a lot. Let's open it up to questions. So I know Hannah's in here, Hannah's in the group. So Hannah's a senior Chi coach. She's a movement specialist, does lots of work. She's an Oxygen Advantage coach. We've got Paul. Paul's still here. Paul's a yoga coach. Paul is there. All of you guys, you've got questions and things that you want to maybe ask me or ask other members of the group. Tom's got a question there. Fire away, Tom.
This is not actually a question, but it was what you just said about from the 20-day challenge of the following the runner in front or running towards a tree, about having seen that in the 20-day challenge. When I tried that out, I was astonished at how effective it felt. I really did get this sensation of being drawn, maybe not completely effortlessly, but it was quite different. So it was impressive.
That's brilliant. That's great feedback, because again, it's these little things, and it's people. It's all well and me good saying this to people, but actually getting that response from people who's made that work, that's really good feedback. I think one of the most challenging things all of us have as coaches, those of us who are coaching, is that we're teaching a technique, but at the same time, if you overteach a technique, it can become so complicated. It's the little things like that we say there's no quick fixes, but actually that's quite a nice quick fix, is just to say, just change your mindset on how you are moving forwards, rather than trying to get over there. I'm using their energy, I'm using that external energy rather than my internal energy, that external chi rather than my internal. No, it's good to have that feedback. So anybody else who's got any notes or feedback or negative feedback, please don't feel like it all has to be brilliant feedback. If you say this really doesn't work for me, then please do say that. Anybody else, anything? Fire away, come on. Don't all be shy. Any of the coaches want to add anything? Tom is here again.
I could give you more feedback.
Give us more feedback.
And what we were talking about in the last few weeks, I bought the ChiRunning book quite a number of years ago, and I've done my best on my own to follow the practice, but you never know whether you're doing it properly or not. So I found this year the connection with you, Ray, quite fascinating. But one of the things that I realised I wasn't doing, the ChiRunning book, it advocates using the same cadence no matter the speed you're running at. And I was quite happy with my cadence, unless I was running slower. And I maybe didn't try very hard, but I was quite accepting of that. I thought, no, if I'm running slower, that's the way it works. But when we focused on the arm swings in the last couple of weeks, that's been a complete turnaround. In fact, the last run I was out yesterday was a longer run, 8.5K. Easy run, floor speed, and that's where my cadence would previously have dropped. But this time it was 176, I think, which is absolutely fine. So that really, it's a small thing, but it did make a difference.
Brilliant. Excellent. Cadence, actually, interestingly, Jill was asking about cadence as well. A couple of things about cadence. So the first thing is what does cadence actually mean? So cadence is, again, rhythm, and cadence is the amount of steps you take per minute. So what we advocate is anywhere between 170 and 180 steps per minute. So that's with both legs. Now that's not just ChiRunning. There's studies out there to show that if the cadence increases, you load that sling system differently to if you have a slow cadence. And the reason why we're aiming for our cadence of 170 to 180 beats per minute is because then you start to use the natural elasticity in the muscles, in the body, rather than, or the elasticity through the muscles, through the ligaments, through the tendons, through the fascia. So we have this spring system. When we land, our plantar fascia or Achilles tendon are designed to help us spring forwards with the force of the road. So that's why we advocate 170 to 180 beats per minute on the cadence. If the cadence is slower than that, it becomes heavier. You start to use more muscle power rather than elastic energy. So that's the reason why we aim at that cadence. Having said that, it doesn't have to be exactly 180 beats per minute or exactly 175 beats per minute throughout the run, because that would be too restrictive. So say you're running on the trails and I put a metronome on and said, you have to hit this beat every single second. There might be times when you're running on a trail where you actually need to quicken that cadence so you don't trip over a branch or a log. So we don't want to be so restricted that I have to keep my cadence at that exact same rhythm all of the time. But the more you can keep the cadence within in a smaller range, the more you're creating that elasticity through the body, and the more actually from a perceived effort level, if you're already running at a nice light quick step, then to actually get quicker you don't have to increase the cadence and increase the stride length at the same time. So that's, if you're running at a slow step and then need to get faster and increase the cadence, it's actually greater effort. There's more of an effort level that you have to put in with that. So that's the really good way of looking at the amount of steps per minute. What you say there, Tom, about the arm swing, the arms can, hopefully the legs will follow the arms. So it's quite a nice way of saying, actually, don't think of running, just think of moving forwards and swinging the arms quickly. So you can take the focus on the elbows, just going back, 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 back. There's your rhythm. That's creating that sense of being in the zone. If you have that cadence as an underlying rhythm, then you can let the breath settle on that. So you get all of these things coming together. So the breath rate doesn't have to change every time you slow down or speed up. So that's the reason why we really focus on that quick cadence. And again, if you practice that, if you understand that, if you're aware of that, then all you need to think about when you're running is either, oh, just swing my arms, or those quick, light steps. So if you keep that focus on nice, light, quick steps. Where a lot of people get confused, and I get confused, I remember when I did my instructor training, I was really confused about this, is the difference between cadence and stride length. So the stride length is the distance between taking off and landing. And this is where it gets like, how can I get faster if my cadence is the same all of the time? Or how can I increase my stride if the cadence is the same all of the time? And that's where we have to focus on where the stride length comes from. So the stride length can change, but the cadence remains roughly the same. And the stride length, again, that word stride tends to suggest I'm just going to reach forwards and try to get over there. But actually the stride length, rather than reaching forwards, because what happens if you try and reach forwards with the stride length is you can end up overstriding. If you overstride, you're more likely to put force going in the wrong way, create injury, and it's harder work. If you have a quick cadence, it's actually quite challenging to overstride, because if you've got a nice quick cadence, it's really difficult to actually reach out in front as well. So then that's where the idea of that stride length coming out behind you, that is what opens up the stride, that's what increases the speed. Anything else on cadence?
Great, if I could just add something to that.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, because I think one of the other things to think about as well is cadence is really individual to you. So sometimes when we think about cadence, we think we have to reach a certain magic number, but it's going to be really dependent on all sorts of things like how tall you are, how long your legs are, and you'll find that there will be a sweet spot for you. And if you carry on sort of trying to keep increasing cadence, actually it will become harder work again. So don't feel like, I think as you said, Gray, this isn't about sort of following a fixed rigid rule. This is all about applying principles to your body and seeing what works best for you. And I'd also echo Tom's comments about the arm swing as well. I mean, I've been playing with the performance side of ChiRunning this year, and the arm swing is really the secret power. I think it really helps to make your running feel so much easier. So it's definitely something that's a lot of fun to play with.
Oh, I like that, secret power. That's a good one. Yes, as you say, definitely with the cadence is don't force anything. It's just find that sweet spot. And again, if it would vary a little bit, but we're always constantly trying to get, I need to get up to 180, I need to get one up to 180. But actually, if you are tight, it's actually quite easy to do a quick cadence. But then actually, are you then increasing the stride length at the same time? Have you got the ability to increase the stride length? So it might be better to back off on the cadence a little bit to allow that stride out behind you. That's a really important point that hopefully now as instructors we are delivering, is that it is all individual. It's not a one size fits all. It's not a quick fix. It is very much in terms of how you feel, how your body is at this moment in time. I think that's something that Hannah said to me before. It's like where you are at this moment in time in your body. We have got Gillian.
Yeah, I'm just going to say thanks. Yeah, because I asked that question about cadence, and all of those responses are really useful. It's funny, but when I was running this morning after I posted that question, I thought, I've not been thinking about my arms at all. So it's funny that Tom mentioned that today, because I just thought, what about my arms? I've not really been, and I try not to get too hooked on it, but I've got an Apple Watch now, and it gives you the average, and I'm not sure I don't know how helpful it is for me to be checking that afterwards and thinking about, the fact that it keeps saying 160 all the time. So I'm not sure.
So that's just giving you average cadence?
That's the average, but when I checked it, when I was doing the ChiRunning before, for those few minutes in doing the calculation, it had really gone up, but I'm not, so I guess I could check that again, rather than just to say, because with the Apple Watch, it's like an average, should I still be, is it a useful measure?
It's a useful measure to check in with the Apple Watch. Again, this is another subject, isn't it? It's a great subject to get into in terms of gadgets, because we don't want to become dependent on our biofeedback, he says, with an Oura Ring and a Whoop and a Garmin. But that is just giving you feedback. So use that as feedback. But again, if it's giving you the average, all you need to do is get to a traffic light and walk a little bit and then wait for that traffic light to change. And it's dropped 10 beats per minute. So then you're going to go, I need to be doing this all of the time. So do go back to that really simple practice of measuring your cadence. Set a timer, time it for 30 seconds, count how many times. You can just focus on one side, foot landing on the right side of the body, and then just multiply that. So I would always just check in with the timer as well to see. And as Hannah says, don't get obsessed with the cadence. My cadence is low today, that's terrible. Tom's got a question, but Alex has got, if we can go to Alex first.
Yeah, so I was just saying that if you've got something like Strava or one of those fitness trackers, then you can look at your cadence in post-activity and not have to worry about it when you're in the activity itself. Especially Strava will give you that line you're looking for. Well, for me it's a line. For other people it might be a bit more bumpy, but that's one of the good things about the activity trackers, is that you can then review your activity, especially Cadence, post the event, and then it gives you the chance to lose yourself in the run, but then also then to be a data geek at the end of it.
Yeah, actually, it was afterwards that I checked it. It wasn't. I've not tended to check it during, because I try to sort of be in the in the process. But yeah, it was afterwards. Like it got but yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good points there. Again, with the Strava, it's most probably measuring your average, so it's always good to double check again within a practice. The other thing about measuring the cadence, it depends on what is giving you, whether you've got a pod on your foot or whether it's using it from the rhythm of your arm swing, or whether it's working from the rhythm of from a strap. So again, it's not always bang on 100% accurate, but what you can do again is go back to your intention of your training. So you might have a particular run that you say, today I am going to focus on cadence. So you take out your metronome, you put the metronome on for a minute of that run. So you do interval cadence. So that's the deliberate purpose of that training practice, is to work on cadence. That's all part of your practice. Then, as Alex says there, is like, then every run you don't have to worry about your cadence. That's all. That's in the bank. You've got that in the bank, so that then you can go out, enjoy your run, go back to enjoy. You can check your Strava and it'll say, yeah, average cadence is that. So really pick the intention of each run you do, because there's so much you can explore in every run. You can work on cadence, you can work on arm swing, and then you work on your fun run. I think in the Chi Challenge, they always say there's always got to be one run where you just go out there and forget about technique, forget about time, forget about arm swing, forget about breathing, go running. If there's a log, you want to balance on the log a little bit. That's really, really important to have that enjoyment element, because remember that research, that's all research showing that actually if you enjoy something, you're going to get more out of it. That's great. So Julie, I know Tom had a question. Let's quickly go to Julie, then we'll come down to Tom.
So yeah, just quickly, I've just started running again after my last operation, and I don't do anything with cadence. I don't do anything. I just run. I'm just wondering what the best thing would be to start focusing on when I do go out. I did try a bit of nasal breathing, but I just, like you said earlier, I just thought, no, I can't do this at all. And so I stopped trying, and now I'm just running, and I am enjoying it, but I feel I want to get back into kind of, some of the practices, and I kind of don't know where to start. What should I focus on initially?
You know exactly what I'm going to say. Nasal breathing.
I know. Yeah, I thought you'd say that.
I mean, again, like Hannah said, it's got to be individual. So if I say to you, focus on nasal breathing, and you just go out and you're not enjoying your running, then you're not going to get the benefits from that. So what I would say is, the thing about nasal breathing is it means that it's a really good way of controlling your aerobic pace. And if we're just getting back into running, we really want to start on focusing on aerobic pace. So I always work on the simple idea of 80-20 training, is that 80% of any of your training should be aerobic. And that's when you can get where you need to get into that feeling of effortless movement, of effortless flow. Effortless flow isn't just for Qigong movements or Tai Chi movements. Effortless flow is for running. You watch any of the elite runners, you watch Mo Farah running, you watch Kipchoge running. They're fast, they're powerful, but it's graceful and it's flowing. So for me, that's the starting point. Now, that might be challenging, but at least with the nasal breathing, that is what is going to make sure that you don't push too hard through a movement. But as I say, if that is not enjoyable for you, just tune in with it a couple of times, but it's things like we've mentioned here, is like the arm swing is maybe a good thing to focus on. That idea of just keeping tall is a good one. So the visualization of lengthening upwards, short, quick steps. Again, that quick, light steps. Light is quite a nice idea to focus on. But and power rather than force. That's a term that I tend to use. Is feel powerful and strong, but not force. Don't push anything. Don't force anything. Keep it nice and powerful and strong. You can still have power without force. Any of the other coaches got any ideas actually for Julie? No?
I think
Yeah, Hannah.
what you were saying, Gray, about focusing on keeping aerobic to begin with, just to build your base back up again and get really comfortable. I think the fact that you're enjoying it is fantastic. So that I would really prioritise.
Yeah.
Before you start worrying too much about other elements, and just really rebuild that habit, rebuild your fitness, and really focus on getting as much fun from it as you can.
Yeah, it was nice to find
Julie,
that.
I've just started. Sorry.
Yeah, go Tracy.
Julie, I've just started running, and I haven't run for years. And I've just been doing my oxygen advantage training. And so, of course, nasal breathing. And at first I was like, oh my God, this is just absolutely awful. And, but of course, obviously I've been studying it, so I had to get a good go. And really it was about that, just pulling back and going, actually, if it's really, really slow, and getting that flow and finding a rhythm. And because at first I literally thought, I cannot do it, it's not working, I'm completely out of breath. And then, and this was in the same day, so it wasn't like I'd suddenly, been practicing. Just the same day, something clicked, and I just went so much slower, found the rhythm, and actually thought, gosh, this is actually working. I really relaxed and slowed down for it, rather than think, oh, when I was younger, I used to really go, like, run like this. I let the kind of nasal breathing kind of take me. I'm just, again, it might not work for you, but I just thought...
That's good, that's useful, thanks. I mean, I have done it before with Gray, but this is years ago now, isn't it, Gray? When we first started, and I haven't done it for so long, and I just thought, oh God, I just can't do it anymore. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty slow anyway, so...
Yeah, just give it, I encourage you to give it another go. If you
I
really
will,
don't like
thanks.
it, because seriously, I'm really enjoying it now, but at first I thought it was hell, so...
Yeah.
And the other thing as well, again, with the nasal breathing, if we're not aware of how we're breathing in everyday life, and we only bring our breathing practice into our running, then it is going to be challenging. So if you're constant, and I know you're not, Julie, I know you, I'm just saying in general, but if in general we have dysfunctional breathing in our everyday life, and then we go running and go, oh, I should be nasal breathing, wow, that is going to be a challenge. So this comes back to the practice, this comes to the 10,000 hours of practice, which doesn't mean you have to sit meditating all day long. It means checking with your breath every so often when you're at the computer. If you can, do some of those breathing exercises. Come to the Tuesday morning class and do your breathing practice. The more you're aware of it, and the more your body learns that, the more you'll get that mind-body connection. And that's so important in terms of that mind-body connection, and how your body responds to what you're doing. Thanks, Tracy. So Tom, let's come back to Tom. I know we've gone a little bit over time, but...
No, it's okay. It's not a new question. Alex actually covered a lot of what I was going to say with use of technology. But the way I use it, it's as you say, you should have an idea of your own focus, what you're doing when you're running. But I do find it useful to be able to look back, and averages were mentioned, but the averages, well, as Gray says, it's only an average. It's using the technology to see what happened in individual laps, where I know what I expect to see, but I just find it quite good to get confirmation of that, a bit more detail, and a record of it. So if I want, I can look back to, oh, I did that run last year, sort of, how did I do then? Is there any sign that I'm running better?
Yeah.
now. So it's much more detailed, and it's using it as a tool rather than, just, like not a magic formula.
Yeah, that's the whole key, isn't it? It's biofeedback, exactly as you're saying there. It's giving you feedback, and it's great to have that data, and it's great to have the averages, because it's great to think, oh, yesterday I went out on a run, and that from an effort level point of view, it felt like an effort level 5, and you check, well, my heart rate was through the roof. So you can look at that and see why that is happening. So like you say, if you use it as biofeedback, that's great. And you can use it, again, if you go back to your little training plan and say, right, Tuesday morning run is going to be heart rate training. So I'm going to make sure I keep my heart rate between 125 and 135. And if my heart rate goes over that, I'm going to slow down. So if that's your intention of that practice, there's nothing wrong in being guided by the tech. But if you're constantly going, I need to keep up to a 9-minute mile pace, or I need to do this all of the time, and you're controlled by the tech, that's where you lose your sense of body awareness and your body sensing. So at the end of the day, it comes back down to body sensing, exactly as you're saying there, Tom. Sensing what's going on in my body, that suggests that my heart rate was about 135. Yes, my heart rate was about 135. That's how to use it in a really good, positive way. Excellent. Any more questions? So Sarah, how are you finding all of that? Has it put you off, or has it got you inspired?
It hasn't put me off, but
Good.
There's a lot of talk of stuff that I just, I don't know how I even start, but anyway, I guess I just need to read up a little bit about it, and I don't know, there's a lot to take in there, really. I'm really enjoying doing what I am doing. I don't know, there's just, how do you know to nasal breathing? I mean, isn't that just breathing through your nose?
Yeah, it's breathing in and out through your nose. So again, there's been a lot of different things that we've introduced here. And if you're new to running and you're new to ChiRunning, what we don't want to do is let that confuse you. So you mentioned the word enjoy. Go back to what Hannah said. That's the first thing. Enjoy what you're doing. One of our coaches in Dublin, Mary Jennings, and she's worth checking out, Mary, because she writes for the Irish Times or the Irish Post, one of the Irish newspapers. She's been teaching ChiRunning for a really long time. She's really, really good in terms of how she teaches it. And what she will say is when she takes a group out running, she doesn't even start, she spends about 3 weeks just going out and enjoying the run and enjoying the space, enjoying the scenery. And then she'll bring in little pointers like, oh, let's just check in with how are you balancing? Can you balance on one leg? So I think the whole point of this process is to say, don't overthink it, don't get stressed out about it. It's a process, it's a whole process, and we're all learning all of the time. We're all developing our technique, if you like. So I certainly don't want to complicate things or make things any confusing for you. Go back to what Hannah said. Start off with enjoyment. If you're enjoying it, things will fall in place, and then just check in. Am I just breathing easy? So just think of breathing easy rather than necessarily nasal breathing. How is my breathing? Am I just breathing nice and easy? Go from a walk into a run. Is that quite easy? That's the starting point. And then you've got the book. You've got loads of coaches around you. Are you on the 20-day Chi challenge?
I don't think. No,
so I'll send you the link to that. It's free. It's totally free. You don't have to pay anything for it. I shall run the link across. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Where's the 20-day Chi challenge? I can't find the link. There's the link, and I'll pop it in the notes from this session. But you can join that 20-day Chi challenge. There's some little form focuses. You've got the book. Just take your time to read through the book. Don't rush things. Don't panic. You'll manage. Hannah's got to drop off. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, everyone else. I was going to give you a Chi warm-up. We've obviously gone over time, so what I will do is I'll just record one and I'll send you a link to that. So it's just something you can watch if you want to use like a 10-minute, 5 to 10 minute warm-up rather than do it all here. So you'll be able to watch that. That's great. Any other questions before we go? That's gone really quickly. Thank you very much, everyone, again, and all those who are supporting all of the work that we're doing. Thank you again for joining the workshop. Thank you for your time and attention. And any questions, get back to me, and I'll hopefully see you all very soon. Have a fabulous weekend.
Right. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye all. Bye-bye.